For millennia, they have stood as the ultimate symbol of ancient civilization, the pyramids of Egypt, a singular, undisputed marvel. We are taught that the story of monumental architecture begins and ends here, along the lower Nile. History etched in colossal stone, repeated in every classroom, every travel guide. But what if the accepted narrative is wrong? Hidden far upstream, along the forgotten bends of the Nile, lies another ancient kingdom, a place where the sheer number of pyramids dwarfs its famous neighbor. Here, the stones tell a story not just of architectural genius, but of historical erasure, of a powerful black civilization that was deliberately written out of the Western imagination. We are talking about the ultimate historical slight. Imagine building more monuments than Rome, only for the world to pretend you never existed. This isn't a footnote. This is a deliberate silence.
What modern history often compresses under the single label Nubia was never a marginal or undeveloped fringe of the ancient world. It was a succession of complex, sovereign African kingdoms that rose, transformed, and endured for more than 1,000 years. Among them, the most powerful and historically consequential was the Kingdom of Kush. Long before Greek historians or Roman chroniclers took interest in the Nile, Kush had already established itself as a regional power with its own political institutions, religious traditions, and economic systems. Its centers of authority shifted over time, first at Kerma, one of the earliest urban centers in Africa, later at Napata, a sacred city closely tied to royal ideology, and finally at Meroë, which became the heart of Kushite political, industrial, and architectural ambition. Each capital marks a distinct phase, but together they tell a single story, a civilization capable of long-term adaptation, resilience, and expansion. This was not a culture developing under Egyptian influence alone. It was Egypt's southern counterpart, deeply interconnected yet politically independent, and at critical moments, dominant. By the 8th century BCE, Kushite rulers achieved something unprecedented. They unified the entire Nile Valley under African rule. Modern historians describe this era as the 25th dynasty of Egypt, but the label minimizes the reality. These were not Egyptian pharaohs adopting African traits. They were African kings who conquered Egypt militarily, ruled it imperially, restored neglected temples, revived ancient religious practices, and governed a territory stretching from the Mediterranean delta deep into the African interior. Their reign represented not decline, but reform, an attempt to stabilize Egypt after internal fragmentation. Kings such as Pianki, Shabaka, and Taharka were once immortalized in inscriptions and monuments. Today, their names survive mostly in specialized academic circles, not because they lacked significance, but because their prominence challenges long-standing assumptions about where power and civilization were allowed to originate. When Assyrian campaigns eventually forced Kushite rulers to withdraw southward in the 7th century BCE, the empire did not collapse, nor did it retreat into obscurity. Instead, it entered a new phase centered at Meroë, where Kushite civilization reached one of its most remarkable heights. Rather than abandoning monumental architecture, the Kushites intensified it. Over 200 pyramids were constructed in and around Meroë, far more than were ever built in Egypt. Though smaller in scale, these pyramids were steeper, more sharply angled, and arranged in dense, deliberate clusters, reflecting a standardized architectural system rather than isolated royal projects. This distinction is crucial. Egyptian pyramids were rare, singular expressions of royal power, while Kushite pyramids were part of a broader cultural and ideological framework, repeated across generations. Such repetition requires centralized authority, advanced planning, skilled labor forces, and sustained access to resources. Meroë was not merely a religious or ceremonial capital. It was an industrial center of immense importance. Archaeological evidence reveals large-scale iron production, making Kush one of the earliest and most significant iron-working civilizations in the ancient world. Weapons, agricultural tools, and trade goods produced here circulated across vast networks linking sub-Saharan Africa, the Red Sea, and the Mediterranean, including the Roman world. Gold, ivory, incense, and iron flowed through Kushite territory, giving the state both economic leverage and geopolitical influence. Yet, when European explorers and scholars encountered these ruins in the 19th century, they struggled to reconcile the material evidence with prevailing racial and cultural assumptions. The result was not neutral scholarship, but narrative adjustment. Kush was reframed as derivative, its pyramids described as imitations, its achievements attributed to Egyptian or external influence. But imitation does not sustain innovation for centuries, nor does it outlast its supposed source by nearly 2,000 years. Egypt's pyramid age ended around 2,500 BCE. Kush was still building pyramids well into the first millennium BCE. That fact alone should have forced a fundamental reevaluation of ancient history. Instead, colonial archaeology ranked civilizations, isolated Egypt from the rest of Africa, and relegated everything upstream to background status. But rivers do not obey modern borders or academic convenience. The Nile does not begin in Egypt, and neither did civilization. As contemporary scholarship re-examines Kush, the scale of omission becomes unmistakable. This was not ignorance, it was selection. And once Kush is acknowledged for what it was, a deeply African civilization capable of empire, industry, and monumental expression, the global story of ancient history does not merely adjust. It changes at its foundation.